The video autoplayed while I was scrolling through my lunch break, and I almost kept going, almost. But something made me stop, maybe the familiar shape of his shoulders, or the way he threw his head back when he laughed. The sound was muted, but I didn't need to hear it. I knew that laugh. I'd fallen asleep to that laugh for 7 years, except Elijah had been dead for 18 months. My thumb hovered over the screen, frozen. The video showed a man, my husband, my dead husband, flipping pancakes in a bright, modern kitchen. 2 little girls danced around him, maybe 5 and 7 years old, while a blonde woman filmed from behind the camera, her laughter caption reading, "Sunday mornings with my favorite people, blessed life dad mode #family first." The username was @LifeWithTheHawthorns. I watched it 3 more times before my hands started shaking so badly I had to set my phone down on my desk. Around me, the insurance office hummed with the usual Tuesday afternoon energy, keyboards clicking, phones ringing, Janet from claims laughing too loudly at something on her screen. Everything normal. Everything exactly as it should be. Except my dead husband was alive on the internet with a whole new family. I picked up my phone again with trembling fingers and clicked on the profile. The account had 47,000 followers. The bio read, "James, Emma and the girls, red heart emoji, living our best life in Portland. Faith, family, love. James." His name was James now. I scrolled through the videos with growing horror and disbelief. There were hundreds of them. Him coaching a youth soccer team. Him at a barbecue with neighbors. Him reading bedtime stories to those 2 little girls. Him kissing the blonde woman, Emma, in front of a Christmas tree. The earliest video was from 3 years ago. 3 years. He'd been James Hawthorne for 3 years, which meant he'd been James for 2 years before he died as Elijah. Except he hadn't died. I locked my phone and pressed it against my chest, trying to breathe normally. This had to be a mistake. A look-alike. A deepfake. Something. Because the alternative, that my husband had faked his own death and started a new life, was insane. But it was him. I knew it in my bones, in the same place that had known something was wrong the day the police showed up at my door to tell me about the car accident. The same instinct that had whispered this doesn't make sense even as I'd identified his body at the morgue. His body. I'd identified a body. I'd buried him. I'd stood at his grave and thrown a white rose onto his casket while his mother sobbed beside me. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister, Imani. "Still on for dinner Thursday?" I couldn't answer. Couldn't think. Could barely process what I was seeing. I grabbed my purse and walked out of the office without a word to anyone, ignoring Janet calling after me about the Monroe file. None of it mattered. Nothing mattered except the impossible truth glowing on my phone screen. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing through possibilities, each more insane than the last. By the time I pulled into my apartment complex, I'd half convinced myself I was having some kind of grief-induced breakdown. 18 months of grief counseling, support groups, and antidepressants, and maybe I'd finally snapped. But when I got inside and opened my laptop, pulled up TikTok on the bigger screen, he was still there, still alive, still laughing in that kitchen with those children who weren't ours, with that woman who wasn't me. I downloaded every video I could find, screen recorded the ones that wouldn't download, created a folder on my desktop labeled evidence because that's what this was, evidence of something, though I didn't yet know what. Then I started investigating. The journalist skills I'd abandoned when I took the insurance job came rushing back. I reverse image searched screenshots from the videos, found the family's Facebook page, public, surprisingly, their Instagram accounts. Emma Hawthorne was a lifestyle blogger with a modest following. The girls were Sophia and Grace. They had a golden retriever named Biscuit. And James worked in consulting. James coached soccer. James had a whole elaborate backstory on their couple's blog about how he and Emma met at a coffee shop in Seattle 5 years ago, how it was love at first sight, how they'd built this beautiful life together. 5 years ago, I was still married to Elijah. We were trying for a baby. We were happy, or at least I thought we were. I found their address through a combination of Emma's geo-tagged posts and some light social media stalking. Portland, Oregon. A nice neighborhood, tree-lined streets, good schools. They lived in a blue house with white trim and a porch swing. I'd never been to Portland. James, whoever the hell he was, had always said he hated the Pacific Northwest. Too much rain, he said. Another lie in a pile of lies I was only beginning to excavate. My phone rang. Imani. I let it go to voicemail. She called back immediately. Zora, where are you? Janet said you left work in the middle of the day without saying anything. Are you okay? I wasn't okay. I was the opposite of okay. But how did I explain this? I need you to come over, I said, my voice sounding strange and distant to my own ears. Right now. I need you to tell me I'm not crazy. On my way. Imani arrived 20 minutes later, still in her teacher's clothes, concern etched across her face. I'd pulled up the TikTok videos on my TV, had them paused on a frame of James smiling at the camera. Okay, what's the emergency? You're scaring me. I pressed play without saying anything. She watched for maybe 10 seconds before her face went slack. What the fuck? That's Elijah, I said quietly. That's my dead husband. That's not possible. Look at him, Moni. Really look. She moved closer to the screen, studying the paused image. I watched her process it. The denial, the confusion, the slow, dawning recognition. Oh my God. That's him. That's actually him. Hearing her confirm it made it real in a way it hadn't been before. My knees gave out and I sank onto the couch. I identified a body. I buried him. How is he alive? Imani sat beside me, her hand finding mine. I don't know. But we're going to figure this out. She pulled out her phone. We should call the police. And tell them what? That I found my husband on TikTok? They'll think I'm delusional. The police already investigated his death. It was an accident. Drunk driver, car went off a bridge, body recovered 3 days later from the river. But you identified him. The body was, it was in bad shape. From the water. But it had his wallet, his wedding ring, his clothes. The dental records matched. I stopped. How did the dental records match? We stared at each other as the implications sank in. This wasn't an accident, Imani said slowly. This was planned. This was elaborate. I pulled up the timeline I'd started building. The earliest video on their account is from 3 years ago, which means he was already James Hawthorne, already with Emma and those kids, 2 full years before he died. So he was living 2 lives. For at least 2 years, maybe longer. I thought about all the business trips, the late nights at the office, the weekend conferences. He told me he was consulting for a firm that had him traveling constantly. Portland was one of the cities he mentioned going to a lot. Imani scrolled through more videos on her phone. Emma's blog says they got married 4 years ago. Small ceremony, just close family. 4 years ago, Elijah and I had celebrated our 5th wedding anniversary with a trip to Jamaica. He'd surprised me with a renewal of our vows on the beach. I still had the photos in an album somewhere, both of us laughing in the surf, my white dress soaked, his arms around me. He was married to both of us, I said, the words feeling surreal. He was a bigamist. Which is illegal. Very illegal. Zora, this is beyond messed up. This is criminal. I stood up, pacing now, my mind working through the angles. He needed to get rid of one life to fully commit to the other. Maybe Emma found out, or he was getting close to being caught. So he faked his death. But how? The body? The dental records? Money, I said. He had to have paid someone off. The medical examiner, maybe, or someone with access to dental records. The body must have been someone else, someone unclaimed, and he switched the identification somehow. Imani looked sick. This sounds like a movie. I know, but I'm looking at the evidence. He's alive, Moni. My husband faked his death and left me to grieve while he played happy family in Portland. The anger hit me then, sudden and overwhelming. I'd spent 18 months crying myself to sleep. I'd lost 15 pounds because I couldn't eat. I'd left journalism, the career I loved, because covering human interest stories felt too painful after losing the person I thought I knew best. His mother had had a stroke from the grief and was still in physical therapy. And he was alive, making pancakes, coaching soccer, living his best life. I'm going to Portland, I said. What? No. Zora, you need to think about this. I've thought about it. I need answers. I need to look him in the eye and ask him why. Then I'm coming with you. I started to argue, then stopped. I didn't want to do this alone. Okay, but we leave tomorrow. I can't wait. That night, I barely slept. I lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, replaying our marriage in my mind like a film I was seeing for the first time, searching for the cracks, the signs I'd missed. The truth hiding beneath the life I thought we'd built together. Had any of it been real? Had he ever loved me? Or was I just a placeholder, a first draft of the life he really wanted? By morning, I had more questions than answers. But I also had a plan. We landed in Portland Thursday afternoon. Imani had called in sick to work, and I'd sent an email to my boss saying I had a family emergency, which wasn't technically a lie. We rented a car and drove to the address I'd found, parking 2 houses down with a clear view of the blue house with white trim. "What's the plan here?" Imani asked. "We just knock on the door?" "I don't know yet. I need to see him first. Make sure it's really him and not some incredibly elaborate coincidence." "You already know it's him." "I know, but I need to be sure." We waited for 2 hours. I'd brought snacks and coffee, like we were on some kind of deranged stakeout. Imani kept checking her phone nervously, while I watched the house with an intensity that was probably unhealthy. At 3:47 p.m., a car pulled into the driveway. Emma got out first, then the 2 girls, backpacks bouncing, and then him. Elijah. James. Whatever his name was, he looked exactly the same. Tall, dark-skinned, that same easy smile, those same broad shoulders I'd cried into so many times. He was wearing jeans and a gray Henley, laughing at something one of the girls said. He looked happy, content, like a man without a care in the world, like a man who hadn't destroyed multiple lives. "Zora," Imani said quietly, "maybe we should." I was already getting out of the car. I walked up the sidewalk with my heart hammering, aware of Imani following behind me, aware of the girls playing in the yard, aware of Emma pulling groceries from the trunk. And then I was standing in front of him. Elijah. He turned at the sound of his name, his real name, and the look on his face was one I'll never forget. Every emotion played across it in rapid succession. Shock, recognition, fear, and something that might have been guilt. "Zora." My name came out strangled. "How did you? What are you?" "You're dead," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "I buried you. I mourned you. And you're standing here in Portland with a new family." Emma had stopped with a bag of groceries in her arms, staring at us. The girls had gone quiet, sensing something wrong. "James?" Emma's voice was uncertain. "Who is this?" "I'm his wife," I said, not taking my eyes off him. Or I was, until he faked his death and abandoned me. The color drained from his face. "Emma, take the girls inside." "What is she talking about?" "Inside." Something in his tone made her move. She herded the confused girls toward the house, looking back at us with wide, frightened eyes. When the door closed, Elijah, I couldn't think of him as James, turned back to me. "You shouldn't be here." "No?" My voice rose. "Where should I be? At your grave? The one I visit every Sunday? The one where I talk to a casket containing God knows who?" "Keep your voice down. Don't you dare tell me what to do. You're dead. You died. Do you understand what that did to me? To your mother? She had a stroke, Elijah. Your death almost killed her." Something flickered in his eyes. Pain? Regret? It was hard to tell. "I can explain," he said quietly. "Then explain. I came all this way. The least you owe me is the truth." He glanced at the house, then at Imani standing behind me like a bodyguard. "Not here. There's a coffee shop 2 blocks away. Meet me there in 20 minutes. "So you can run again?" "I'm not going to run. I promise. 20 minutes. I didn't trust him, but I also didn't want to have this conversation in front of his new family, in front of those little girls who had no idea their father was living a lie. 20 minutes, I agreed, and if you don't show, I'm calling the police. He nodded and walked into the house without looking back. The coffee shop was called Drizzle and Bean, aggressively Portland with its exposed brick and local art on the walls. Imani and I got a table in the corner, and I ordered a coffee I didn't want, just to have something to do with my hands. "He's not coming," Imani said after 15 minutes. "He'll come." "How can you be sure?" "Because I know him." I paused. Or I thought I did. At minute 19 he walked in. Alone. He'd changed into a different shirt, and his face looked drawn, older than it had in the driveway. He got a coffee and sat down across from us without preamble. "Before you say anything," he started, "I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you." "Shut up," I said. "You don't get to lead with that. You don't get to make this about your intentions. I want facts. I want the truth. Starting with, whose body did I bury?" He flinched. "A man named Marcus Webb, homeless veteran, no family. He died of an overdose. And I arranged for him to be identified as me. You desecrated a corpse. I gave him a proper burial. More than he would have had otherwise. The rationalization of it made me sick. How did you pull this off? He sighed, running a hand over his face. I knew someone. A guy from college who went into forensic pathology. He was in debt, needed money. I paid him to falsify the dental records, to make sure the identification held up. The body was already damaged enough from the water that visual identification was difficult. You saw what you expected to see? I saw my husband, I whispered, tears burning my eyes. I held your mother while she screamed at your funeral. Was any of it real? Did you ever love me? I did love you, he said. And there was something raw in his voice. I still do, in a way. But Zora, I was living two lives and it was killing me. I met Emma during a business trip. It was supposed to be just a fling, but then she got pregnant. And suddenly I had a daughter, and then another, and this whole other family I was responsible for. So you chose them. I chose the life that felt right, the life I wanted. And what about the life you had with me? 7 years of marriage, Elijah. 7 years of me thinking we were building something together. We were young when we got married. I was different then. People change. People don't fake their own deaths when they change, Imani snapped. They get divorced like normal people. He turned to her, defensive now. You think I could just divorce her? My mother would have disowned me. The whole community would have judged me. And Emma didn't know about Zora, she thought I was free. If I'd divorced Zora, Emma would have found out I'd been lying to her for years. I would have lost everything. So you chose to kill yourself instead, I said. I chose to start over, to give everyone a clean break. A clean break, I laughed, but there was no humor in it. There's nothing clean about this. You committed fraud, bigamy. You filed a fraudulent insurance claim. I know you did, because I work in insurance. Do you know how much trouble you're in? His jaw tightened. Are you threatening me? I'm telling you the truth, which is more than you ever did for me. We sat in tense silence. Around us, the coffee shop buzzed with normal life, students studying, couples talking, a barista calling out orders. The ordinary world going on while mine shattered again. What do you want? He finally asked. Why did you come here? I wanted to know why. Why wasn't I enough? What did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. This wasn't about you. It was about me. I was crying now, not caring who heard. I'm the one you left behind. I'm the one who has to live with this. You get your happy ending with your picture-perfect family, and I get what? Therapy bills and nightmares and the knowledge that everything I believed was a lie? He reached across the table like he might take my hand, then thought better of it. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough, but I am. If I could go back and do things differently, you'd still choose them. He didn't deny it. Imani stood up. Come on, Zora. We're done here. But I wasn't done. Does Emma know? About me? No. She thinks I'm James Hawthorne, born and raised in Seattle, no previous marriages. And those girls think you're just their dad. No complicated past, no secrets. Yes, you're going to lose them, I said quietly. When this comes out, and it will come out, Elijah, because I'm not going to keep your secret, you're going to lose everything you were so afraid of losing. Emma will leave you. Your daughters will know their father is a liar and a criminal. Was it worth it? His face crumpled. Please, please don't do this. Think about those little girls. They're innocent in all this. So was I said, standing up. But that didn't stop you. I walked out of the coffee shop with Imani close behind, leaving him sitting there with his untouched coffee and his guilt. We didn't go straight to the police. Instead, we went back to our hotel, and I sat on the bed trying to figure out what I actually wanted. Justice? Revenge? Answers? I'd gotten the answers, and they didn't make me feel better. They didn't change anything. What are you thinking? Imani asked. I'm thinking about those girls. They look happy. Their whole world is about to implode because of me. Not because of you. Because of him. Because of what he did. I know. But they'll still suffer for it. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Zora, Emma's voice. We need to talk. She wanted to meet alone, which Imani vehemently opposed, but I agreed anyway. We met at a park near their house, sat on a bench overlooking a pond while the late afternoon sun turned everything golden. Emma was beautiful up close, blonde hair, blue eyes, the kind of face that belonged in a skincare ad. She looked tired though, scared. James told me everything, she said without preamble. About you, about his other life, about faking his death. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. I know this isn't your fault. I've been with him for 5 years. We have 2 children together, and I didn't know. How did I not know? I didn't know either. He was good at compartmentalizing, at lying. She wiped her eyes. He's upstairs packing right now. Said he needs to turn himself in before you do it for him. The girls don't understand what's happening. Sophia keeps asking why Daddy's crying. My heart clenched. I didn't want this. I just wanted to understand. I know. He said you were kind, that you deserved better. She laughed bitterly. Apparently, we both did. What are you going to do? Divorce him, obviously. Move back to Seattle, near my family. Try to explain to my daughters why their father is going to prison. She turned to me. What about you? Will you press charges? I'd been asking myself that question for hours. I don't know. Part of me wants him to pay for what he did, but another part of me just wants to move on, to let go of all of this. He destroyed our lives, Emma said quietly. Both of them. He should face consequences. He will. Even if I don't press charges, the insurance fraud alone will put him away. And the bigamy. And the identity fraud. He's going to lose everything regardless of what I do. We sat in silence, 2 women connected by the same man's lies, trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces. I'm sorry I didn't know about you, Emma finally said. If I had known, you would have left him. I know. I paused. For what it's worth, those videos you post? Your family looks happy. Before all this, I mean, I think he really did love you. In whatever broken way he's capable of love. That doesn't make it better. No, it doesn't. Elijah turned himself in that evening. The local police contacted the authorities back home, and suddenly it was an interstate case involving multiple agencies. I had to give statements, provide evidence, relive the trauma over and over. The story broke nationally within days. Man fakes death. Lead's double life was too juicy for the media to resist. My face was plastered across news sites. Always next to that phrase, the widow who wasn't. Imani fielded most of my calls while I tried to process everything. Elijah's mother called crying, apologizing for her son, asking how she could make it right. There was no making it right. Elijah was charged with insurance fraud, bigamy, falsifying death records, and a dozen other crimes I couldn't keep track of. He pled guilty to avoid trial, probably to spare Emma and the girls from testifying. He got 8 years. Emma moved to Seattle with the girls. She reached out once, a few months later, to tell me they were doing okay. Therapy was helping. The girls asked about their dad sometimes but seemed resilient. She'd started dating again, someone honest this time, she hoped. I went back to work, back to my life, but nothing felt the same. How could it? The foundation of my understanding, that Elijah had been real, that our marriage had meant something, that grief was a linear process, had been obliterated. But slowly, painfully, I started to rebuild. I went back to journalism, freelance at first, then full-time. I wrote an essay about the experience that went viral, which led to a book deal, The Ghost in the Algorithm. My husband's double life came out 2 years after I found that first TikTok video. It was cathartic to write and apparently resonated with people, other women who'd been lied to, people who'd lost someone and wondered if they'd ever really known them. The book tour was exhausting but healing. Everywhere I went, people shared their own stories of betrayal and resilience. I realized I wasn't alone in this strange, painful experience of having your reality rewritten. On the 3rd anniversary of Elijah's death, I visited the grave one last time. Marcus Webb's grave, really. I'd learned more about him since, a veteran who'd struggled with PTSD and addiction, who'd died alone on the streets. He deserved better than to be a pawn in someone else's lie. I left flowers and an apology. For him, for the life he'd lived and the death he'd suffered, for the way his body had been used without consent, even in death. Then I left and didn't look back. 5 years later, I was remarried, to a wonderful man named Terrence who knew my whole story and loved me anyway. We had a daughter, Amara, who was 2 years old and looked like sunshine personified. I still thought about Elijah sometimes, wondered if prison had changed him, if he regretted his choices, If he thought about me and the life we'd had. But mostly, I didn't. Because I'd learned something important through all of this. People can lie to you, betray you, rewrite your shared history, but they can't take away your resilience, your ability to survive and rebuild and find new meaning. Elijah had given me a story, not the one I wanted, not the one I'd signed up for, but mine nonetheless, and I'd taken that story and transformed it into something meaningful, a book, a career, a new life built on honesty instead of lies. Sometimes late at night, I still scrolled through those old TikTok videos, archived now that Emma had deleted the account, watched the man I'd married flip pancakes and coach soccer and play the role of perfect father and husband, the ghost in the algorithm, frozen in time, smiling that familiar smile. And then I'd close my phone and go kiss my sleeping daughter, hold my husband, and be grateful for the real, messy, honest life I'd built from the ashes of the fake one. Because that's the thing about ghosts, they can haunt you, but only if you let them. I chose not to,